All right, so when it comes to college football, a lot of people see the cheers, you see the touchdowns, you see the successful teams, you see dynasties, you see all that good stuff. But most fans really don't understand the inside and outs of what makes a successful college football team. Now, I myself have been a part of a championship team in college and been a collegiate athlete for 3 years. And I understand what it takes to become a championship football team. But a lot of fans really don't know what it takes. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand and see college football a little bit different than what you saw before. Y'all tune in and enjoy the rest of this video. Now, for those who don't know me, I'm Jay, the sports professor. I am a former collegiate athlete, so I understand the ins and outs of playing football at the collegiate level. I know what it takes. I know the grind, the sweat, what the hard work that it takes to become successful as an individual player, but most importantly, being a part of a successful team. Now, enough about me. This is about the video. The number one thing that fans really don't understand is the power of recruiting. And the power of recruiting plays a huge role in whether a college football team will be successful or not. See, the thing is, when it comes to recruiting, you're seeking a player that fits your mindset, your culture, and what you believe in. Because a lot of times where recruiting fails is when you're not getting the high talented player along with that character. Some Deion Sanders always says he wants players that are
tough, fast, disciplined with character.
Fast, tough, disciplined with character. And those are the three components that make a successful collegiate athlete. Fast, tough, disciplined with character. So those are things that a lot of people don't understand. Now, getting back to recruiting, every recruiter, every team, especially those bigger schools, have a specific region in which they recruit kids, right? For example, if you play for, University of Miami, right? If you're a University of Miami recruit, you have a recruit that focuses on Dade County. You have another recruit that focuses on Broward County. You have another recruit that focuses on Palm Beach. You have another recruit that goes out of state and focuses on the state of Georgia. You have another recruit that focuses in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. You have a recruit that goes out to the West Coast. So depending on what talent you're looking for and what specific player, each recruiter is responsible for every region. And it's the recruiter's responsibility to bring back the best player available that will benefit and help the team win and make it to the national championship, which is every team's goal. Because essentially, when you make it to the national championship, not only the player will get the recognition, but more NFL scouts, more potential opportunities, more brand deals, the whole nine. And with today's game is a lot different than when I played. You see, when I played, recruiting was a whole different ball game. See, recruiting was all about getting the DVDs and cassettes, right? Especially the DVD era. And if a coach were to receive your DVD and didn't know who you were, what they'll do is they'll grab your DVD and toss it in the trash as if it didn't even matter. You could have worked so hard making that specific highlight tape, but if the coach doesn't know your name or there's no relation or awareness that your name is there, like if they didn't know you, they'll toss it. You'll never hear from them. But anyways, a lot of people don't understand the power of recruiting. See, if you look at a lot of successful teams had a lot of blue chip recruits, meaning those 5-star recruits is what everybody aims for, right? Because those 5-star recruits is what builds successful teams. But again, at the same time, not only that you're seeking a player that's very talented, of course, that's something that you want because that could potentially help your team win, but you're looking for character, because character is what takes you a long way when it comes to collegiate sports or anything in life, period, right? But character is what drives the force when it comes to building a football team, because that transition from high school to college is a big transition. I don't think people really understand that playing football in college is like a job, right? You get up in the morning for lifts, run, film, offensive team, defensive team, special teams. Then you go to class. Then you go. Then after class, right back to special teams meeting. Maybe you might meet with a coach for individual session. Then you go on to practice. In prior practice, coach is going over the agenda on what to look forward to and what the expectations are. Then after practice is lunch. So everybody on the team is required to go to lunch. And then after lunch is study hall. And after study hall, you're expected to be back in your dorm, not doing anything stupid. And you also have people monitoring your every move. But again, that's just the gist of college football, that for those who don't know. And again, when you're coming from high school, you're after practice, you're going straight home. You're going home with your parents, and that sort of thing. So that transition going from high school to college is a big transition. So you got to be able to understand that certain kids are more prep than other kids, right? If a kid goes to a prep school, he's more prepared for the collegiate world than the kid who comes from a public school in the inner city or any of those small towns, and they're not used to the structure. So it creates the structure. So having that talent, having those blue chip recruits is essential. And what most coaches love are players who are extremely talented. Number one, the talent. The talent will get you in the door, and then the character, and then the grades. When you're a talented football player, your grades on point and your characters on point, man, teams will do whatever it takes to get that specific recruit, whether it's throwing money under the table. Nowadays, with the whole NIL, collective bargaining stuff, a lot of things are not in secret anymore. Back when I was playing, if a coach really wanted you, he would throw money under the table. A lot of guys who played in the league or guys who played in college got money under the table because it was illegal. Tampering was way worse than what it is now. Now you can kind of get away with it. Back then, you couldn't say a word. If a coach or if the league or somebody found out that you were tampering out in the open, then your team and the school will face a lot of legal troubles. So again, recruiting has changed so much, especially with NIL and all this other stuff. And nowadays, players operate in a different frequency. These players are all about what could you do for me. But I remember when I was getting recruited back in the early teens, the early 2010s, man, you were happy that a college coach was recruiting you, right? And there wasn't as much information as it is now as far as the access. Like when I was coming up, all these fancy trainers and all that stuff did not exist. See, trainers were more in secret. If you had a trainer in 2010 or 09 or whatever, that was like your neighborhood trainer. Nowadays, everybody has become a trainer. You have nothing against all these trainers, but you have a lot of trainers now. You have a trainer for specific footwork or wide receiver trainer or whatever. But back then, it was more secret. So things have changed a lot. But again, going to recruiting, having that blue chip recruit is very, very, very good. Another thing that people don't really understand is the strength of a schedule. The strength of a schedule is so vital in the college football world, especially when it comes to ranking. Because more established teams are more likely to win more football games. So when you look at that schedule and you look at the strength of that schedule, depending on your all season, depending on what recruit that you've gotten, that plays a huge role in whether you're going to be successful or not, right? So imagine you're playing a 10-2 team, which is a very successful football team in college. You're playing in Alabama. Imagine playing in Alabama, Clemson, all these established programs, all 4 in a row, right? So the strength of the schedule is important. Now, depending on what kind of coach that you have, it's up to the coach to make sure that his team is fully prepared, right? Make sure the coach makes sure he puts every player in the best position possible to succeed, and his job is to put the whole team in the best possible position to win football games, right? So, and a lot of teams come out with upsets, a lot of teams come out with surprises, But in most cases, based off the schedule, is usually how the season goes, right? Again, a team like Alabama has been successful for the past 20, 30 years. You know, a team like Clemson has been very successful. Team like Alabama, Clemson, Florida State, um, University of Georgia, Tennessee, like all these major programs, especially the SEC, have been dominant for the past for decades. This is what you call the NFL factor. So a lot of these guys who are coming from SEC teams, right, which is the Southeastern Conference, are usually bigger, stronger, and faster because most of those guys come from the South, right? Most dudes from the South are a lot bigger when it comes to football. So those are things that people really don't understand. Like when you're looking at that schedule, you're facing a 10-3 team. Just know you have to be prepared. But there are also upsets that happen. For example, y'all remember when Colorado first came on the scene in the major national scene, when Deion Sanders' first year with Colorado, they played TCU in the season opener. TCU had just came from participating and was a runner-up in a national championship. You know what it takes to make it to the national championship game? It takes a lot to get there. So their team was still relatively really good. And then with Deion and the Colorado Buffaloes in 2023, this was Deion's first year. He just came from Jackson State, along with Shedeur Sanders came from Jackson State, along with Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter came from Jackson State. Shiloh, all these different guys. And then he had to, clean house and get all these guys in the transfer portal. Like, you know what it takes to build continuity amongst a team and put just a bunch of random guys together. It takes years and time to build a culture in a football team. Now, with this being Deion Sanders and Deion Sanders Coach Prime's third year with the Colorado Buffaloes, I believe this is probably going to be the best team overall. Again, I don't want to get too deep in Colorado. I have another video talking about Colorado, preview what their season is about to be about. Also, you guys can check out some of my previous videos, especially my last video on whether Coach Prime won the Big 12, but I'm going to expand on that in another video. Now, you see how they caused an upset because most people predicted that TCU would beat Colorado. It ended up being a really close game, but Colorado had the upper hand because they made more plays and had less turnovers. So typically in a team, when it comes to football games, the teams that win the turnover battle typically wins. 85-90% of football teams that win the turnover battle usually win the football game. So it's important that you teach your student athletes to avoid turnovers, finish strong, being consistent, being a tough football team, and being extremely skilled is what's going to take a football team to the national championship. So those are things that a lot of people really don't understand, and I want fans to really dive in and understand the mind of the college football world. And number 3, NIL transfer portal era. Now, this era started in 2020. Now, again, when I played college football, none of this stuff existed. The transfer portal didn't exist. The NIL stuff didn't exist. All these different things did not exist because I myself I transferred twice. Went from one school to another school to another school. And back then, if you were to transfer schools, you would have to do something called sitting out and being forced to redshirt if you didn't use a red shirt. So I redshirted, right? Because I transferred, right? And I had to sit out. There's all different rules when it comes to going to D2, D1. I don't want to get too deep into all that because that has nothing to do with the video, but you guys get the gist of it for those who have an idea and inclination of college football. Now, when it comes to the NIL and transfer portal, a lot of these players now, it's difficult, especially maintaining, really good players because in today's era, if the kid ain't happy, then he's going to leave. He's going to bounce and leave and go to another school. When it comes to the NIL, most players, a lot of people don't really understand that most players don't get NIL deals. A lot of players are getting collectives. There's a difference between the collectives and the NIL. Two different things, right? And a lot of people think, all these players are getting NIL. No, only players that actually get NIL are the top tier collegiate football players. I'm talking about in that 1 to 0.5 to 2% of college football players actually get NIL deals. Like Shador had NIL, Travis had NIL, Caleb Williams had NIL, Angel Reese had NIL, Caitlin Clark had NIL. Like those top players, those top tier well-known athletes got NIL. But most players don't get NIL. They get something called the collectives. And how that plays a factor in college football, a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people think, oh, it's NIL. Yeah, it is the NIL era, but most players don't get NIL. I want people to understand that. For those who don't understand the world of college football. So that's a very important thing, man. I want people to really take that into consideration and understand that. But again, hope you guys learn some things as far as the mind and the expectation that come with being a successful team in the collegiate world. Again, I'm a former collegiate athlete. I played on a championship team before, and I knew and I saw what it took to win football games, right? A lot of gameplay, a lot of preparation, coaches being on us, study hall, just the little things that a lot of people don't understand matters. Matching uniforms, showing up on time to class, doing all the necessary things in order to be successful. And that's what it takes. When one team, when everybody as a collective unit is united, same goal, same vision, same ambition, and you really want to win football games and not just do it just because, that's how you win football games. And with the transfer portal and NIL, it's very hard to maintain these players if they're not happy, right? So trying to keep these good players, again, you got to make sure they're compensated a certain way. You got to make sure that they come to an environment that fits them, and them and the coach coincide and they work well together. So in today's era, with a lot of these players that just would leave because some coach yelled at them, it's pretty difficult to maintain a successful football team like it was 10, 14 years ago when I was playing. Again, for those, if you have any other insights or any other ideas as far as what may, what's different or what people really don't understand about the college football world, or any other question that you have for me as far as college football, shoot me in a comment. I'm going to do my absolute best to respond to every comment available. Peace, and thank you from Jay, the Sports Professor. And don't forget to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my page if you are new to this channel.